Ryan Cole stared at the woman who had been his entire world for over a decade and felt his carefully constructed life crumbling around him. Maya Brooks sat across from him in her half-empty apartment, surrounded by moving boxes that would take her 3,000 miles away in less than 12 hours. And she had just asked the one question he'd spent years avoiding. "Why can't you just tell me the truth, Ryan? After everything we've been to each other, don't I deserve that much?" His 5-year-old daughter was asleep in the next room, trusting him to make the right choice. But how could he tell Maya that she was the reason every relationship had failed? That she had been the ghost in every romance, the standard no one else could meet, without destroying the only stable thing left in his broken life? Before we dive into this story of buried love, impossible timing, and the courage it takes to risk everything for the truth, I want to invite you on this journey with me. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I love seeing how far these stories travel and connecting with all of you. And if you're ready for a story about the kind of love that hides in plain sight, hit that like button and settle in. This one's going to take us deep. The question had come out of nowhere on a Tuesday afternoon, while Ryan was picking up his daughter from Maya's apartment after another late shift at the hospital. It was innocent enough, the kind of casual inquiry friends make without expecting it to land like a punch to the sternum. "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" Ryan had frozen with Emma's backpack halfway over his shoulder, his daughter chattering about the craft project Maya had helped her complete. The words hung in Maya's cozy living room, suspended between the comfortable silence they usually shared and something far more dangerous. "I'm too busy," he'd said, forcing lightness into his tone. "Between work and Emma, there's no time for complications." Maya had given him a look he couldn't quite read, something flickering behind those warm brown eyes that had watched him grow from a scraped-knee kid into a widowed father trying to hold his world together. "Right, too busy." She hadn't pushed, but the question followed Ryan home that night, echoing through the quiet moments after Emma went to bed, when he sat alone with thoughts he usually kept locked away. It followed him through the next day's rounds at Seattle Grace Memorial, where he worked as a pediatric nurse. It sat with him during Emma's bedtime story, when his daughter asked for the 100th time why Aunt Maya couldn't just live with them forever. "Because Aunt Maya has her own life, sweetheart," he'd said, smoothing back her dark curls, so much like her mother's that sometimes it hurt to look at her. "But she's here all the time anyway," Emma had reasoned with 5-year-old logic. "And she makes you smile. You don't smile as much with other people." Out of the mouths of babes, Ryan thought, pressing a kiss to his daughter's forehead. If only it were that simple. The truth was far more complicated than his daughter could understand. The truth was that Maya Brooks had been the center of Ryan Cole's universe since they were 7 years old, growing up 3 houses apart in suburban Portland. She'd been there for every milestone, every triumph, every devastating loss. She'd been there when he married Jennifer at 24, standing as a bridesmaid with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She'd been there when Jennifer died of an aneurysm 3 years later, leaving Ryan a widower at 27 with a 2-year-old daughter and a grief so profound he couldn't see past it. And she'd been there every day since, showing up without being asked, fitting into the broken pieces of his life like she'd always belonged there. The problem was that she did belong there. She belonged so completely, so essentially, that Ryan had spent the last 8 years terrified of admitting it, even to himself. "Tell me again why we're doing this," Maya said 3 days later, hauling another box of books toward the growing pile by her door. "I must have temporary insanity. Who voluntarily moves to New York in January?" Ryan caught the box before she could add it to the stack, his hands brushing hers in a contact that lasted a fraction too long. "Someone who just got offered the creative director position at one of the most prestigious marketing firms on the East Coast. That's who." "Right, that person." Maya pushed a strand of honey blonde hair behind her ear, a gesture Ryan had watched her make 10,000 times. "The ambitious career woman who definitely has her life together and isn't having a complete breakdown about leaving everything she knows." "You're going to be amazing," Ryan said, meaning it with every fiber of his being, even as something in his chest twisted painfully. "New York won't know what hit it." Maya's apartment reflected 12 years of adult life in Seattle, the city they'd both moved to for college and never left. Every corner held memories, The kitchen where they'd attempted to cook Thanksgiving dinner their first year out of school and nearly set off the smoke alarm. The living room where they'd assembled Emma's first crib when Jennifer was too exhausted to help. The balcony where they'd watched fireworks and talked about everything and nothing until dawn broke over Puget Sound. In 2 weeks, it would all belong to someone else. Maya had accepted the position in New York with a start date of February 1st. It was January 9th. "How's Emma handling it?" Maya asked, collapsing onto her worn leather sofa, the one they'd found at an estate sale years ago and hauled up 3 flights of stairs together. Ryan joined her, keeping a careful distance between them. "She made you a going-away present. I'm under strict instructions not to let you leave without it." "God, that kid's going to make me cry before I even get to the airport." Maya tucked her legs under her, turning to face him. "I'm going to miss her so much, miss both of you. We'll visit, and you'll come back for holidays." The words sounded hollow even to Ryan's ears. They both knew this was the kind of opportunity that didn't come around twice. If Maya was smart, and she was brilliant, she'd build a life in New York. She'd meet someone who deserved her, someone who hadn't spent years too afraid to see what was right in front of him. The thought made Ryan's throat tight. "Can I ask you something?" Maya's voice had shifted to that careful tone she used when approaching topics they usually avoided. Ryan's pulse kicked up. "Sure. That question I asked the other day? About why you don't date." She was studying him with an intensity that made him want to look away. "You brushed it off, but I've been thinking about it. It's been 3 years since Jennifer passed. I'm not saying you should be over it. That's not how grief works. But Ryan, I've watched you turn down at least a dozen women who were clearly interested. Good women. Women who would have been great with Emma." "I told you, I'm busy. Don't." The word was quiet but firm. "Don't give me the busy line. I know your schedule better than anyone. I'm there half the time, remember? This is me. You can tell me the truth." Ryan's heart hammered against his ribs. This was dangerous territory, the kind of conversation that could change everything. "What do you want me to say, Maya?" "I want you to tell me what's really going on, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're hiding from something." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was softer. "Or someone." The air between them felt charged, crackling with words left unspoken for too many years. Ryan could feel the precipice, could sense how easy it would be to just tell her, to finally say the words that had lived in his chest since before he was old enough to understand them. "Because it's you. It's always been you. And I'm terrified that if I tell you that, I'll lose the only thing keeping me whole." But instead, he did what he'd always done. He retreated behind the walls of responsibility and fear. "You're reading too much into it," he said, standing abruptly. "I should get going. Early shift tomorrow." Maya's face shuddered, disappointment flickering across her features before she masked it. "Right, of course." The walk to his car felt like wading through water. Ryan sat in the driver's seat for 5 full minutes before starting the engine, his hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. He'd almost done it, almost crossed that line, and he still had no idea if he'd made the right choice by pulling back. The pediatric wing of Seattle Grace Memorial was chaos the next morning. January always brought a surge of respiratory illnesses, and the waiting room was packed with anxious parents and miserable children. Ryan moved through his rounds with practiced efficiency, but his mind kept drifting to Maya's apartment, to the question in her eyes, to the growing pile of boxes that represented the end of something he couldn't name. Earth to Ryan, Sarah Chen, his fellow nurse and closest work friend, waved a hand in front of his face. "You've been staring at that chart for 3 minutes without writing anything." "Sorry, distracted." "I can see that. This wouldn't have anything to do with Maya's move, would it?" Sarah leaned against the nurse's station, her dark eyes knowing. "You've been walking around like someone kicked your puppy." Ryan sighed. Sarah was one of the few people at work who knew about his complicated history with Maya. "She's leaving in less than 2 weeks. So stop her." "It's not that simple." "Actually, it is that simple. You love her. You've loved her for as long as I've known you, probably longer. Tell her. See what happens." "I can't risk it, Sarah. She's Emma's godmother. She's family. If I tell her and she doesn't feel the same way, I lose her completely. And I can't—" His voice cracked. "I can't lose her." And what if she does feel the same way? What if you're both sitting here pining for each other like a couple of idiots while she packs up her entire life? She doesn't. How do you know? Ryan thought about all the years of friendship, all the moments when he'd watched her date other men, build other relationships. Because if she did, she would have said something by now. Sarah made a frustrated noise. You two are going to end up as one of those tragic stories people tell about missed opportunities and terrible timing. I hope you know that. Before Ryan could respond, his phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Can you bring Emma by tonight? Want to give her the going away present she made me before things get too crazy with packing. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before he finally typed. Sure. 7 o'clock work? Perfect. And Ryan, thanks for everything, for being there through all of this. He stared at the message, at the careful gratitude that felt like a wall between them. Then he pocketed his phone and went back to work, trying not to think about the countdown clock ticking in the back of his mind. Emma was vibrating with excitement when Ryan picked her up from her after-school program that evening. She clutched a handmade card covered in glitter and stickers, protecting it like it contained state secrets. Can Aunt Maya read it right now? Can she, Dad? Please? We're going there in an hour, Em. You can give it to her then. But what if she cries? Mrs. Patterson says people cry when they're happy sometimes. Will Aunt Maya cry happy tears? Ryan's chest tightened. She might, sweetheart. Maya's building came into view too quickly, the familiar brick facade that Ryan had been visiting for over a decade. How many times had he climbed those stairs? How many nights had they spent talking until the early morning hours, solving the world's problems over cheap wine and cheaper takeout? Emma raced ahead the moment they entered the lobby, her small feet pounding up the stairs. Ryan followed more slowly, each step feeling weighted with significance he couldn't quite name. Maya opened the door before they could knock, and Emma launched herself into her arms. Aunt Maya, I made you something. Dad said you might cry, but that's okay because they're happy tears, and Mrs. Patterson says happy tears are good. Well, I guess I should prepare myself then. Maya caught Ryan's eye over Emma's head, and something passed between them. Acknowledgement of an ending, perhaps, or recognition of how much this moment mattered to his daughter. They settled in the living room, surrounded by even more boxes than there had been a few days ago. Emma presented her card with the solemnity of a knight presenting a sword, and Maya opened it with appropriate ceremony. Ryan watched his daughter's creation unfold, a construction paper card decorated with drawings of the 3 of them. Maya and Emma holding hands, Ryan pushing Emma on a swing, all of them together at the park, the zoo, the beach. A chronicle of their unconventional family rendered in crayon and glitter. Inside, in Emma's careful printing, thank you for being the best Aunt Maya in the whole world. I love you bigger than the sky. Please don't forget about us in New York. Love, Emma. Maya's eyes filled immediately. Oh, sweet girl. See, Dad? I told you she would cry. Emma looked delighted rather than concerned. Happy tears, Maya confirmed, pulling Emma into a tight hug. The very best kind. This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever given me. Ryan felt his own eyes sting. This was what they were losing, these casual moments of being family, of belonging to each other in a way that transcended formal definitions. Emma didn't understand that Maya leaving meant the end of an era. She thought it was temporary, that Aunt Maya would always be a phone call or a plane ride away. Maybe she was right. Maybe Ryan was the one catastrophizing, seeing endings where there were only transitions. Or maybe he was finally understanding what he should have realized years ago, that you can't keep someone by refusing to claim them. That silence is its own kind of loss. Why don't you go pick a book for Aunt Maya to read? Ryan suggested to Emma. From her bookshelf, something you want her to remember you by. Emma scampered off to Maya's bedroom, leaving the 2 of them alone. She's going to break my heart, Maya said, wiping her eyes. I knew this would be hard, but I didn't realize how hard. You're doing the right thing. This job is incredible. Is it, though? Maya's voice was suddenly raw. Is it the right thing if it means leaving behind everyone I love? If it means missing Emma growing up, missing her first day of kindergarten, missing... She stopped abruptly. Missing what? Nothing. Never mind. She stood, moving toward the window that overlooked the street. Ignore me. I'm just emotional. Ryan joined her, maintaining that careful distance again. Talk to me, Maya. I can't. Why not? We tell each other everything. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Do we? Do we really? The challenge hung between them. Ryan could feel his carefully constructed defenses starting to crack. I found it, Emma called from the bedroom. Can I take 2 books? Of course, sweetheart, Maya called back, her voice steadier than it had been moments before. When she turned to Ryan, her expression was carefully neutral. We should talk about logistics. I was thinking about setting up weekly video calls with Emma, and I'll be back for her birthday in March, obviously. Just like that, they were back on safe ground, making plans, being practical, avoiding the enormous thing sitting between them like a third person in the room. Emma returned with 2 books clutched to her chest, and the rest of the evening passed in the comfortable routine they'd built over the years. Dinner? Pizza. Emma's favorite. A movie. Moana. Also Emma's choice. Stories and laughter and the easy intimacy of people who knew each other inside out. But underneath it all, Ryan felt the clock ticking. 12 days. That's all they had left. The next week passed in a blur of helping Maya pack, of taking Emma to say goodbye to various places that had been part of their shared history. The coffee shop, where they'd spent countless Sunday mornings, the park where Emma had taken her first steps with Maya cheering her on, the bookstore where they'd browsed for hours, always leaving with more books than they intended to buy. Each goodbye felt like a small death. Ryan threw himself into work, picking up extra shifts to avoid thinking about the calendar. But his coworkers noticed the change in him. Sarah stopped trying to give advice and just offered quiet support. Even his patient's parents commented that he seemed distracted. Everything okay at home? One mother asked after he'd checked her son's vitals for the 3rd time, clearly not remembering he'd already done it. Fine, Ryan said automatically. Just tired. But it wasn't fine. And he wasn't just tired. He was watching the life he'd built crumble around him, and he had no idea how to stop it. 5 days before Maya's flight, Emma came down with a fever. Nothing serious, just a standard winter cold, but enough that Ryan had to call in sick to stay home with her. Maya showed up at noon with soup and popsicles, letting herself in with the key she'd had for years. You didn't have to come, Ryan said, though relief flooded through him at the sight of her. Where else would I be? Maya felt Emma's forehead, her nurse's instincts kicking in despite working in marketing. Have you given her anything? Tylenol an hour ago. She's been sleeping mostly. They fell into the familiar rhythm of caring for a sick child together. Maya reading stories while Ryan cooked, taking turns checking Emma's temperature, tag-teaming when Emma wanted both of them near. It was so natural, so right, that Ryan felt his heart breaking all over again. This was what he was losing. Not just Maya's friendship, but this. The partnership they'd built. The family they'd become without ever acknowledging it. After Emma fell asleep for her afternoon nap, Ryan found Maya in the kitchen, washing dishes she absolutely didn't need to wash. You're leaving in 5 days, he said, the words feeling pulled from somewhere deep in his chest. I know. And we're just going to pretend everything's normal until you get on that plane. Maya's hand stilled in the soapy water. What else would we do? We could tell the truth. She turned slowly, water dripping from her hands. What truth is that, Ryan? This was it. The moment he'd been avoiding for years, the cliff edge he'd been dancing around since that Tuesday afternoon when she'd asked about his dating life. But looking at her now, really looking at her, at the woman who had been his constant through every storm, who loved his daughter like her own, who fit into his life so completely he couldn't imagine it without her, Ryan found his courage failing. The truth that I'm going to miss you, he said finally, that nothing's going to be the same without you here. Disappointment flashed across Maya's face, so quick he might have imagined it. I'll miss you too, both of you. Maya, I should go. Let you rest while Emma's sleeping. You look exhausted. She dried her hands, avoiding his eyes. I'll see you this weekend for the going away party? Of course. She paused at the door, her hand on the knob. For a moment, Ryan thought she might turn around, might push him the way she had that day in her apartment, but she just said, take care of our girl. and left. Ryan stood in his kitchen, surrounded by the life he'd built in the aftermath of Jennifer's death, and felt more alone than he had in years. Our girl, she'd said, not your girl. Our girl. And he'd let her walk away without saying a word. The going-away party was held at their favorite bar, a quiet pub in Ballard that had been their regular spot since their early 20s. The place was packed with Maya's friends and colleagues, people who had loved her and would miss her, but who couldn't possibly understand what her leaving meant to Ryan. He stayed at the bar, nursing a beer and watching Maya laugh with her marketing team. She looked beautiful tonight, wearing a deep blue dress that brought out her eyes. Several men had approached her throughout the evening, and Ryan had watched each interaction with his stomach in knots. "You're being pathetic," Sarah said, appearing at his elbow. "Go talk to her." "I am talking to her. I talked to her earlier." "You said congratulations and then retreated to this corner like a wounded animal. That doesn't count." Sarah signaled the bartender for another drink. "This is your last chance, you know. After tonight, she's gone. You'll have missed your window." "There is no window." "No, there never was." "God, you're stubborn." Sarah turned to face him fully. "Let me tell you what I see. I see two people who have been in love with each other for years, both too scared to admit it. I see a woman who has put her life on hold to help you raise your daughter. I see a man who hasn't looked at another woman with genuine interest since his wife died because he's been in love with his best friend. And I see both of you about to make the biggest mistake of your lives because you're too afraid to be honest. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You think you're protecting your friendship, protecting Emma, protecting yourself from another loss. But Ryan, you're losing her anyway. She's leaving. The only question is whether she leaves knowing how you feel or whether she leaves thinking you never cared enough to tell her." Ryan drained his beer, Sarah's words hitting too close to home. "What if I tell her and she doesn't feel the same way?" "What if you don't tell her and she does?" Before Ryan could respond, Maya appeared, slightly flushed from champagne and attention. "There you are. I was wondering where my favorite people went." "Just giving Ryan some tough love," Sarah said cheerfully. "I'll leave you two to it." She squeezed Maya's arm. "Take care of yourself in New York. And remember what I said. Sometimes the thing you're looking for is right in front of you." Maya watched her go with a puzzled expression. "What was that about?" "Sarah being Sarah," Ryan gestured to the crowd. "Hell of a turnout." "Yeah, I didn't realize I knew this many people." Maya leaned against the bar beside him, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something light and floral that he'd recognize anywhere. "Thank you for coming. I know you hate these things." "I wouldn't miss it." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the party swirl around them. Then Maya said quietly, "Can I ask you something?" Ryan's heart rate picked up. "Always." "If I stayed—" She paused, seeming to gather courage. "If I turned down the job and stayed in Seattle, would it change anything between us?" The question hit Ryan like a physical blow. He turned to look at her, really look at her, and saw vulnerability in her expression that he'd never seen before. "Maya, never mind." She straightened, her mask slipping back into place. "Forget I said anything. Too much champagne making me sentimental." "Don't do that. Don't brush it off." Ryan caught her hand before she could pull away. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" "I don't know what I'm asking. She took a shaky breath. "I've watched you for 8 years, Ryan. Watched you date women who were perfectly nice but never quite right. Watched you pull away from anything that might actually work out. And I kept telling myself it was grief, or being a single parent, or just bad timing. But lately I've started wondering if maybe—" Maya Brooks. A group of her work friends descended, pulling her into hugs and demanding photos. The moment shattered like glass. Ryan released her hand, and Maya was swept away into the crowd. He watched her go, Sarah's words echoing in his head. "Your last chance." The party wound down around midnight. Ryan helped with cleanup, hyper-aware of Maya across the room, of the countdown clock that now measured in hours rather than days. People filtered out in groups, calling goodbyes and making promises to stay in touch that might or might not be kept. Finally, it was just the two of them in the parking lot, standing beside their cars under streetlights that turned everything amber and strange. "Thank you for everything tonight," Maya said. "For being here, for always being here. I don't think I've ever told you how much that means to me." You don't have to thank me. I do, though, because I... She stopped, shook her head. 3 more days. That's all we have left. Maya, what you said in there, about staying, about things changing between us. Ryan's voice was rough. I need you to know. It's okay. You don't have to explain. I understand. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Some things are better left unsaid, right? We have too much history to risk it. That's not what I should go. Early flight Tuesday morning, and I still have so much packing. She moved toward her car, then turned back. Will you bring Emma to the airport to say goodbye? Of course. Good. That's good. She unlocked her car, paused. Ryan, for what it's worth, you deserve to be happy with someone who sees you, really sees you. Don't settle for less than that, okay? Then she was gone, taillights disappearing into the Seattle night, and Ryan was left standing alone in an empty parking lot. The words he'd needed to say stuck in his throat like broken glass. Sunday passed in a haze. Ryan took Emma to Maya's apartment one last time, watching his daughter play among the cardboard boxes while Maya finished packing. The space looked hollow now, stripped of personality, already belonging to someone else. Dad, can we take Aunt Maya to the Space Needle? Emma asked. One last time? I don't know, honey. Aunt Maya's pretty busy. I'd love that, Maya interrupted. One last Seattle adventure before I go. So they went, the 3 of them, riding up to the observation deck and looking out over the city that had been their home. Emma pressed her face to the glass, pointing out landmarks. The market where they'd gotten ice cream, the zoo where they'd celebrated her 4th birthday, the park where they'd spent countless Sunday afternoons. I'm going to miss this, Maya said softly, standing beside Ryan while Emma explored the other side of the deck. All of it. You'll come back for visits. It won't be the same, we both know that. She turned to him, and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Ryan, I need to tell you something. Before I go, before I lose my nerve. Maya, please, just let me say this. She took a breath, squared her shoulders like she was preparing for battle. I stopped dating 2 years ago. I told everyone it was because I was focused on my career, on getting that next promotion. But the truth is, I stopped because every man I met, I compared to you. And none of them, not a single one, measured up. Ryan's world narrowed to her face, to the truth pouring out of her like a dam breaking. I know it's not fair to tell you this now, when I'm leaving. I know it's terrible timing, but I can't get on that plane without you knowing that the reason I'm going, the reason I need to get out of Seattle, is because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending that being your best friend is enough when I've been in love with you since we were 17 years old. The observation deck seemed to tilt beneath Ryan's feet. What? I know you don't feel the same way. I know you see me as Emma's godmother, as your friend, as Jennifer's bridesmaid. I've known that for years and I've made peace with it. But I thought you deserved to know the truth. That if you've been wondering why I never settled down, why I'm always available to help with Emma, why I stayed in Seattle even when I had other opportunities, it's because of you. It's always been because of you. Emma's laughter carried across the observation deck, bright and innocent. Below them, Seattle sprawled in all directions, the city they'd grown up in together, built their adult lives in together. You're wrong, Ryan heard himself say, his voice shaking. You're wrong about me not feeling the same way. Maya's breath caught. What? The reason I don't date, the reason I turned down those women, it wasn't grief or being too busy or any of the excuses I gave. It was you, Maya. You were the ghost in every relationship, the standard no one else could meet. I tried, God knows I tried to move on, to find someone who could be a mother to Emma, someone who could fill that space, but they all felt wrong because they weren't you. Ryan, I've been in love with you for so long I can't remember when it started. Before Jennifer, during my marriage, after she died. You were always there, this constant presence I couldn't name, couldn't acknowledge. And I was terrified. Terrified that if I told you, I'd lose the only stable thing in my life, that you'd pull away, that Emma would lose her godmother, that I'd destroy the family we'd built. Maya's tears were falling now, streaking down her cheeks. You idiot. You beautiful, frustrating idiot. I know. I know I should have told you years ago. I know I wasted so much time being scared. But I'm telling you now, even though you're leaving, even though the timing is terrible, I love you, Maya Brooks. I've loved you through marriage and death and single parenthood. I've loved you through every moment of these 8 years, and I was too much of a coward to say it out loud. They stood facing each other on top of the Space Needle, the city spread beneath them, Emma's laughter the soundtrack to their confession. Maya reached up to touch his face, her fingers trembling. "What do we do now?" she whispered. "I don't know. You're leaving in 2 days. You have this amazing opportunity that I took because I thought staying here meant a lifetime of loving you from a distance." "Aunt Maya! Dad! Come look at this!" Emma's voice pulled them back to reality, to the present moment, to the complexity of their situation. They went to her, and Emma grabbed both their hands, pulling them to the window. "Look how small everything is from up here. We're like giants." Ryan felt Maya's hand in his, warm and right, and everything he'd wanted without admitting it. They stood there together, the three of them, looking out over Seattle while the weight of their confessions settled around them like snow. The truth was out now. Finally, after years of silence and fear and missed opportunities. But truth, Ryan was learning, was just the beginning. What came next, that was the harder part. The drive home from the Space Needle was quiet, Emma chattering in the back seat about everything she'd seen while Ryan and Maya sat in a silence that felt entirely different from the comfortable quiet they'd shared for years. This silence was charged, heavy with the weight of confessions that couldn't be taken back, with questions that had no easy answers. Ryan kept his eyes on the road, but he was hyper-aware of Maya in the passenger seat, of the way she kept twisting her hands in her lap, of the tension radiating from her in waves. When they pulled up to her apartment building, Emma was already half asleep, her head lolling against the car seat. "I should get her home," Ryan said, his voice rough. "Put her to bed." "Right. Of course." Maya reached for the door handle, then stopped. "Ryan, we need to talk. Really talk. Not with Emma around, not in a car, just us." "When? You're leaving Tuesday. Tomorrow night. After Emma's asleep." Maya's eyes met his, and he saw the same fear and hope warring in them that he felt in his own chest. "Come to my place. We'll figure this out." "Okay, tomorrow night?" She nodded, then leaned back to press a kiss to Emma's sleeping head. "Sweet dreams, little one." When she straightened, her hand brushed Ryan's shoulder. Just a touch, barely there, but it sent electricity through him. "See you tomorrow." Ryan watched her walk into her building, then sat in the car for a long moment, his heart pounding. 12 hours. That's all he had to wait before they could have the conversation that would determine the shape of the rest of their lives. The apartment felt too quiet when Ryan carried Emma inside. He went through the bedtime routine on autopilot, changing her into pajamas, tucking her in, making sure her nightlight was on. She stirred when he kissed her forehead. "Dad?" "Yeah, sweetheart?" "Is Aunt Maya sad about leaving?" Ryan's throat tightened. "I think she is. Yeah. Are you sad?" "Very sad." Emma's small hand found his. "Maybe she doesn't have to go. Maybe she could just stay here with us. She likes it here." "It's not that simple, Em. She has a really important job waiting for her in New York. But we're important too, right? We're her family." Out of the mouths of babes. "Yes, baby, we're her family." "Then she should stay. That's what families do. They stay together." Emma's voice was already slurring with sleep. "Mrs. Patterson says family is the most important thing." Ryan sat with her until her breathing evened out, then retreated to his own room. Sleep was impossible. He lay in the dark, replaying Maya's words on the observation deck, the tremor in her voice when she'd confessed loving him since they were 17. 17. They'd been kids, barely starting to understand what love meant, and she'd carried it all these years through his marriage to someone else, through Jennifer's death, through every moment of their friendship when he'd been too blind or too scared to see what was right in front of him. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Maya. "Can't sleep. Keep thinking about what you said, about what I said, about all of it." Ryan's fingers moved before he could overthink it. "Same. This changes everything, doesn't it? Everything. And I leave in 36 hours. I know. Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I'm scared, Ryan. Me too. What if we're making a mistake? What if this ruins everything? Ryan stared at the question, understanding the fear behind it. They'd spent years building something safe, something stable. Crossing this line meant risking all of it, but they'd already crossed it, hadn't they? The moment the words left their mouths, there was no going back. What if we're making a mistake by not trying? He typed back. No response came. Ryan waited, watching the screen, but Maya had gone silent. He set the phone down and closed his eyes, exhaustion finally pulling him under despite the chaos in his head. His dreams were fragmented, unsettling. Jennifer standing in Maya's apartment, shaking her head sadly. Emma asking why Aunt Maya left. Maya on a plane, getting smaller and smaller until she disappeared completely. He woke with a start at 6, feeling like he'd been running all night. Emma was already awake, playing quietly in her room with the dolls Maya had given her for Christmas. Ryan made coffee and tried to focus on the day ahead. Work, Emma's dance class, normal Monday things that felt impossible in light of everything that had shifted. His phone stayed silent all morning. No texts from Maya, no calls. The silence felt ominous. At work, Sarah took one look at him and pulled him into the break room. You told her. How did you? You look like you've been hit by a truck. Either you told her or someone died. And since I haven't heard sirens, I'm going with confession. Sarah poured him coffee that was probably strong enough to strip paint. So what happened? She told me first. On the Space Needle with Emma 20 feet away. Said she's been in love with me since we were 17. Sarah's eyes went wide. Holy shit. Yeah. And I told her the truth too, that it's always been her, that she's the reason I couldn't move on. Okay, that's amazing. That's what you wanted, right? So why do you look like you're attending a funeral? Because she's still leaving, Sarah. Nothing's changed. She has this incredible opportunity in New York, and I can't ask her to give that up. I won't be that guy. Did she ask you to come with her? Ryan blinked. What? Did Maya ask you to come to New York with her? Because that seems like an obvious solution that neither of you have apparently considered. I can't just uproot Emma and move across the country. My job is here, her school is here, all her friends. You're a pediatric nurse, Ryan. You could get a job anywhere. Emma's 5. She'll make new friends. And if Maya is what you said she is, if she's been the center of your world for 8 years, then maybe it's worth considering. Sarah's expression softened. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it might be worth it. The idea lodged in Ryan's brain like a splinter. Move to New York. Start over in a new city with Maya and Emma. Build the life they'd been dancing around for years. It was terrifying. It was impossible. It was the only thing that made sense. His shift crawled by. Between patients, Ryan found himself researching pediatric nursing positions in New York, looking at schools in Manhattan, calculating costs and logistics. The more he looked, the more feasible it seemed. But there was still the conversation they needed to have, the one scheduled for tonight, after Emma went to sleep. Ryan picked Emma up from her grandmother's house, Jennifer's mother, who had remained a constant in their lives despite her daughter's death. Linda took one look at him and frowned. You look terrible, sweetheart. Are you feeling okay? Just tired. It's been a long day. Linda studied him with eyes that saw too much. This is about Maya leaving, isn't it? Ryan shouldn't have been surprised. Linda had always been perceptive, and she'd watched him and Maya orbit each other for years. It's complicated. Love usually is. Linda crouched down to hug Emma. But from where I'm standing, you two have wasted enough time being complicated. Jennifer would want you to be happy, Ryan. She'd want you to find love again. Did she ever say anything to you about Maya and me? Linda smiled sadly. She knew. Maybe not consciously, but on some level, she knew there was something there. I think that's part of why she made Maya Emma's godmother. She wanted to make sure you'd have someone who loved you both when she was gone. The words hit Ryan like a fist to the sternum. I loved Jennifer, I did. I know you did, honey, and she loved you too. But loving someone doesn't mean you can't love someone else. Hearts are bigger than we think they are. Linda squeezed his arm. Whatever you're wrestling with, whatever decision you're facing, follow your heart. You've spent 8 years being practical and responsible. Maybe it's time to be a little reckless. Emma fell asleep in the car on the way home, exhausted from a day of playing with her grandmother. Ryan carried her inside, got her ready for bed through the haze of half-consciousness that 5-year-olds could somehow maintain. She murmured something about Aunt Maya, about New York being far away. Then she was out. Ryan stood in her doorway for a long moment, watching her sleep. She looked so much like Jennifer with her dark curls and delicate features. But she had Ryan's stubbornness, his tendency to feel everything deeply. What kind of life did he want for her? What kind of example did he want to set? His phone showed 8:30. Time to go to Maya's. The drive took 7 minutes. Ryan had made this trip hundreds of times, but tonight it felt different. Tonight, everything they'd carefully avoided for years was about to come to a head. Maya opened the door before he could knock, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater that Ryan recognized as one he'd given her years ago. The apartment was almost completely packed now, just a few pieces of furniture left standing like ghosts of the life she was leaving behind. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi." They stood in the doorway, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on them. Then Maya stepped back and gestured him inside. She'd set out wine and cheese on the counter, the good wine, the kind they only broke out for special occasions or emotional emergencies. This apparently qualified as both. "I've been thinking all day," Maya said, pouring them each a glass. "About what we said yesterday, about what it means." "Me too. And I keep coming back to the same question. Why now? Why, after all these years of silence, did we both decide to confess with less than 2 days left?" Ryan took the wine she offered, their fingers brushing. "Maybe because we were running out of time. Maybe because the thought of you leaving without knowing the truth was worse than the risk of saying it. Or maybe we're both self-sabotaging cowards who only felt safe confessing when there was a built-in escape route." Maya's smile was bitter. "I tell you I love you, but I'm getting on a plane in 36 hours. You tell me you love me, but you don't have to actually do anything about it because I'm leaving. It's safe, right? We get the confession without the consequences." "That's not why I told you, isn't it?" Maya set her wine down, her hands trembling slightly. "Because I've been asking myself all day if I would have had the courage to say anything if I was staying, and I honestly don't know." Ryan moved closer to her, close enough to see the gold flecks in her brown eyes, close enough to count her freckles if he wanted to. "I would have. Maybe not yesterday, maybe not today. But eventually, I would have told you. Because, Maya, I've been dying slowly for 8 years, watching you date other people, pretending I was fine with being just friends, and I couldn't have kept doing it forever. So what do we do now?" The question was barely a whisper. "I have a lease signed in New York, a job that starts in 3 weeks, a life that I've already committed to building 3,000 miles away. And I have a daughter and a job and roots that run deep in Seattle." "Exactly. So we're stuck. We finally tell each other the truth and we're still stuck." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "God, the timing of this is so cruel. If you'd told me a year ago, 6 months ago, even 2 months ago." "You would have turned down New York?" She hesitated, and Ryan saw the conflict play out across her face. "I don't know. Maybe. Probably. But you didn't tell me, and I accepted the job. And now we're here. What if I came with you?" The words hung in the air between them. Maya's eyes went wide. "What? What if Emma and I came to New York? I could find a job there. Pediatric nurses are needed everywhere. Emma's young enough that changing schools wouldn't be traumatic. We could—" Ryan stopped, seeing the expression on Maya's face. "What? You can't do that. You can't uproot your entire life, take Emma away from her grandmother, leave the city where Jennifer's buried, all because I was stupid enough to fall in love with you. That's not—" "It is, Ryan, and I can't be responsible for that. What if we try this and it doesn't work? What if we ruin our friendship and you've moved across the country for nothing? What if—" Her voice cracked. "What if you end up resenting me for it?" Ryan set his wine down and took both her hands in his. "Maya, look at me, please." She raised her eyes to his, and he saw fear there, raw and real. "I'm not asking to come to New York because I feel obligated. I'm asking because the thought of you being 3,000 miles away, of only seeing you on holidays, of watching Emma grow up without you there every day, that's unbearable. I've already lost one person I loved. I can't lose you too, not when we finally have a chance at something real. But what about Jennifer? What about her memory? Jennifer's been gone for 3 years. I'll always love her. I'll always miss her. But she's gone, Maya, and you're here, and you love my daughter, and I love you. Jennifer would want us to be happy. Her mother said the same thing to me this afternoon. Maya's tears spilled over. This is insane. We're talking about completely changing our lives based on one conversation. We've had more than one conversation. We've had 8 years of conversations, of building a life together without calling it that. This isn't sudden, Maya. This has been building for so long we both forgot to notice. I'm scared, she whispered. I'm so scared of messing this up. I know. I am too. Ryan pulled her closer until there was barely any space between them. But I'm more scared of not trying, of wondering for the rest of my life what might have happened if we'd been brave enough to take the risk. Maya leaned her forehead against his chest, and Ryan wrapped his arms around her, holding her like he'd wanted to hold her for years. She fit perfectly, like she'd been designed to exist in this exact space. I need to think, she said against his shirt. This is too big to decide right now with everything happening so fast. Okay, what do you need? She pulled back to look at him. Time? Space? A chance to process all of this without you standing in front of me making it impossible to think straight. Ryan understood, even as disappointment washed through him. When's your flight? Tuesday morning, 10:15. So we have tomorrow. We have tomorrow. Maya's hand came up to touch his face, her thumb brushing across his cheekbone. Can I ask you something? Anything? If I asked you not to come to the airport, would you understand why? His heart sank. You don't want me there? I don't know if I can get on that plane if you and Emma are watching, and I need to at least get to New York, Ryan. I need to try this job, see if it's what I thought it would be. I can't make decisions about the rest of my life standing in an airport, terrified and overwhelmed. It hurt, but Ryan could see her point. What about Emma? She's been planning her goodbye for weeks. Bring her by tomorrow morning. Let her say goodbye here, where it's just us, please. Ryan nodded, unable to trust his voice. Maya's hand was still on his face, her eyes searching his. Can I? She stopped, bit her lip. I know we said we needed space, but can I just... She didn't finish the sentence. Instead, she rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, like they were both afraid of breaking something fragile. But then Maya's hands slid into his hair, and Ryan pulled her closer, and 8 years of longing poured into that moment. She tasted like wine and tears and home, and Ryan felt something in his chest crack open, something he'd kept locked away for so long he'd forgotten it was there. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Maya laughed, a shaky, disbelieving sound. That was... yeah. We really should have done that years ago. Yeah. They stood there, foreheads touching, trying to catch their breath. Ryan wanted to kiss her again, wanted to carry her to what was left of her bedroom and show her every feeling he'd kept hidden. But Maya was right. They needed time to think, to process, to make sure they weren't just caught up in the moment. I should go, he said, though he made no move to leave. You should, Maya agreed, also not moving. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, for Emma's goodbye. 10 o'clock. Ryan forced himself to step back, to put distance between them before he lost his resolve entirely. Maya, whatever you decide, whatever happens, I meant what I said, all of it. I know, I meant it too. The walk to his car felt like moving through water. Ryan sat behind the wheel, his lips still tingling from the kiss, his mind racing with possibilities and fears and hopes he'd thought were dead. His phone buzzed. I can still feel you. Is that normal? He smiled despite everything. I think it might be. Go home, Ryan. Be with Emma. We'll talk tomorrow. Tomorrow. But when Ryan got home, he couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the kiss over and over, thinking about New York, about starting over, about all the ways this could go wrong and all the ways it could go right. Around 2 a.m, his phone lit up with another text from Maya. I keep thinking about what Emma said. that families stay together. She's a smart kid. She is. Gets it from her dad and her godmother. A long pause, then, Ryan, if you're serious about New York, we need to talk logistics. Real planning, not just romantic gestures. His heart leaped. I'm serious. Whatever it takes. I don't want you to give up everything for me. I'm not giving it up. I'm choosing something different. Choosing us. Us. God, that sounds so strange to say out loud. Good strange or bad strange? The best strange. They texted back and forth until 3 in the morning, making tentative plans, discussing possibilities, dancing around the enormous leap they were both considering. By the time Ryan finally fell asleep, the sun was starting to lighten the sky, and he'd already started researching movers. Emma bounced into his room at 7, full of energy despite the early hour. Is today goodbye day? Yeah, sweetheart. Aunt Maya wants to see you at 10. Can we bring her breakfast? She loves those muffins from the bakery. So they stopped at Maya's favorite bakery, Emma carefully carrying the box of blueberry muffins like they were made of glass. When they arrived at Maya's apartment, she opened the door with red eyes that suggested she'd slept as little as Ryan had. But she smiled for Emma, pulling her into a tight hug. There's my favorite girl. We brought muffins, the blueberry ones you like. That's perfect. Come on, let's have breakfast together. They sat among the boxes, eating muffins and drinking coffee, juice for Emma, and trying to make everything feel normal when nothing was normal anymore. Emma chattered about school, about the picture she was going to draw for Maya, about how she'd decided she wanted to visit New York to see the Statue of Liberty. You'll have to come visit me, Maya said, her voice only slightly strained. I'll take you to all the best places. Promise? I promise. When it was time to go, Emma clung to Maya with the kind of desperate grip only children could manage. I don't want you to leave. I know, sweet girl, I don't want to leave you either. Maya's voice broke. But I'll call you all the time and we'll video chat, and I'll see you so soon, okay? Okay, Emma sniffled. I love you, Aunt Maya. I love you too, Emma Rose. So much. Ryan watched them say goodbye, his own throat tight. When Emma finally released Maya and went to look at the art supplies Maya had set out for her, Ryan and Maya stood facing each other. I'm going to miss her so much, Maya whispered. You both. We'll miss you too. Ryan wanted to touch her, to pull her into his arms, but Emma was right there, watching with those perceptive 5-year-old eyes. Ryan, about last night, I know, we don't have to decide everything right now. But we need to decide something. I can't get on that plane tomorrow without knowing where we stand. Emma looked up from her coloring. Dad, can I give Aunt Maya my special bracelet, the one Grammy gave me? That's up to you, sweetheart. Emma carefully removed the small beaded bracelet from her wrist and brought it to Maya. So you remember us. Maya's tears spilled over as she tied the bracelet around her own wrist. Thank you, baby. I'll wear it every day. After Emma went back to her coloring, Ryan said quietly, I meant what I said about New York. I'm going to start making calls today, looking at jobs, schools. This isn't just talk, Maya. I'm serious. What if I'm not ready? What if I need time to settle in first, to figure out my job before adding the pressure of whatever this is between us? Then we'll take it slow. I'll come out in a few months, give you time to get established. We'll date long distance, figure it out as we go. But I'm not letting you walk away without fighting for this. For us. Maya glanced at Emma, then back at Ryan. Can you come by tonight, after Emma's asleep? I'll be up late finishing packing anyway. I'll be here. The rest of the day passed in slow motion. Ryan took Emma to the park, to her favorite ice cream place, trying to keep her distracted from the sadness of Maya's departure. But she kept coming back to it. Will Aunt Maya still be my godmother in New York? Of course she will. And she'll still love us? Always, Em. Distance doesn't change love. Ryan hoped he was right. That night, after Emma finally fell asleep clutching the stuffed bear Maya had given her, Ryan drove back to Maya's apartment. This time when she opened the door, she pulled him inside immediately, wrapping her arms around him like she'd been waiting for this all day. I've been thinking, she said against his chest. Me too. And I think, she pulled back to look at him. I think we should try this, really try. Not just talk about it, Not just make plans we might not follow through on. I think you and Emma should come to New York. Ryan's heart hammered. You mean that? I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. But I'm more terrified of losing you now that I finally have you. Maya's hands fisted in his shirt. So yes, come to New York. We'll figure out the logistics, the timing, all of it. But come. Ryan kissed her then, hard and deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, they were both smiling. Okay, he said. Okay, we'll come to New York. They spent the rest of the night making real plans this time, researching neighborhoods, schools, calculating costs. It was practical and romantic all at once, building a future out of spreadsheets and hope. Around midnight, Maya yawned and leaned against Ryan's shoulder. I can't believe this is happening. 24 hours ago, I thought I was leaving you forever. 24 hours ago, we were both idiots. Fair point. She tilted her head to look at him. Are we really doing this? Are we really taking this leap? We really are. Good. Maya kissed him softly. Because I don't think I could get on that plane tomorrow if I thought this was goodbye. It's not goodbye. It's just see you soon. How soon? Ryan had been thinking about this all day. Give me 2 months. I'll need to give notice at work, get Emma enrolled in school, arrange for movers. But 2 months, Maya. Then we'll be there. 2 months, she repeated like she was testing how it sounded. I can do 2 months. They fell asleep on her couch, wrapped around each other, the TV playing quietly in the background. When Ryan woke just before dawn, Maya was watching him with soft eyes. Hi, she whispered. Hi, what time is it? 5:30. I need to finish packing, get to the airport. Right. Reality crashed back in. Today was the day she left. They stood, stretching out the kinks from sleeping on the couch. Ryan helped Maya pack the last few items, load them into her car. The apartment looked hollow now, completely empty except for echoes. I should go, Ryan said, though leaving felt impossible. Let you finish getting ready. Ryan? Maya caught his hand. Thank you for being brave enough to tell me the truth, for being willing to take this risk. Thank you for the same. They kissed goodbye in the empty apartment, both of them aware this was the last time they'd see each other for 2 months. It needed to last, needed to hold them through the time apart. Call me when you land, Ryan said. I will. And Ryan, tell Emma I love her, that I'll call her tonight. I will. He made himself leave, made himself get in his car and drive away. In his rearview mirror, he could see Maya standing in the doorway of her empty apartment, and then she was gone, and he was heading home to his daughter and the life they were about to completely change. 2 months. 60 days. Then they'd be in New York, starting over, building something new. Ryan just hoped they could make it that long. Emma was sitting at the kitchen table drawing when Ryan got home, her grandmother keeping watch while Ryan had said his private goodbye to Maya. Linda took one look at his face and nodded knowingly, gathering her purse without a word. Call me if you need anything, she said quietly at the door. And Ryan, you're making the right choice. Emma barely looked up from her artwork when Linda left, too absorbed in the elaborate drawing she was creating. Ryan could see it was another picture of the three of them, him, Emma, and Maya, this time standing in front of what looked like very tall buildings. Is that New York? He asked, settling into the chair beside her. Uh-huh. See? That's the Statue of Liberty. And that's us visiting Aunt Maya. Emma added more green to the statue with intense concentration. When can we go visit her, Dad? Ryan's heart squeezed. His daughter had inadvertently drawn their future without knowing it. Actually, I need to talk to you about something important. She set down her crayon, giving him her full attention with those serious eyes that were so much older than 5. Is Aunt Maya okay? She was crying a lot this morning. She's okay. She's sad about leaving, just like we're sad about her going. But I've been thinking about something, and I wanted to know what you think about it. What? How would you feel about moving to New York, so we could be closer to Aunt Maya? Emma's eyes went wide. Really? We could really do that? If you want to, it would mean leaving Grammy, leaving your school and your friends here, starting over in a new city. That's a big change. Emma was quiet for a moment, her small face scrunched in thought. Then she said, "Would Aunt Maya be there every day? Like she is here?" "Yeah, sweetheart, she'd be there every day." "Then, yes, I want to go." Emma spoke with the certainty only children possessed. "Grammy can visit us, right? And my friends can come see New York too?" "Absolutely." "Then I want to go." She picked up her crayon again, adding more details to her drawing. "When do we leave?" "Not for a couple months. Daddy has to find a new job and a new place for us to live. And you'll need to finish kindergarten here first." "Okay, can I bring all my stuffed animals?" Ryan laughed, the sound almost painful in his tight chest. "Yes, baby, you can bring all your stuffed animals." Emma went back to coloring, apparently satisfied with this life-altering decision. Ryan watched her, marveling at her resilience, her ability to adapt. Jennifer would have loved seeing their daughter like this, brave and open to adventure. His phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Boarding now. I already miss you both. We miss you too. Emma wants you to know she's drawing a picture of us in New York." "She is? God, that kid is going to make me cry on this plane. Safe flight. Call when you land." "I will." "Ryan, thank you for everything, for being willing to do this. Thank you for being worth doing it for." The next few hours were strange. Ryan tried to maintain normalcy for Emma's sake, but his mind kept drifting to Maya somewhere over the Midwest, flying toward her new life. He checked his phone obsessively, waiting for the text that would tell him she'd landed safely. It came at 2:30 Pacific time. "Made it. Apartment is tiny, but has good light. Missing you already. Missing you too. Emma wants to video call tonight. Perfect. I need to see her face." That night, they FaceTimed for an hour, Emma showing Maya every drawing she'd made, telling her about their plan to move to New York with an enthusiasm that made Maya tear up on the screen. When Emma finally went to bed, Ryan and Maya stayed on the call, just looking at each other across 3,000 miles. "This is going to be harder than I thought," Maya said, her voice small. 2 months. We can do 2 months. Can we? Ryan, what if one of us changes our mind? What if you get out here and realize you made a mistake? That's not going to happen. You don't know that. We've never even been on a real date. We've never had to navigate being a couple instead of friends. What if we're terrible at it? Ryan understood her fear because he felt it too. Then we'll figure it out. Together. Maya, I didn't make this decision lightly. I've spent 3 days thinking about nothing else, weighing every possible outcome, and every scenario that doesn't include you feels wrong. She was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just scared. I know, me too. They talked until midnight New York time, until Maya was falling asleep on camera. After they hung up, Ryan lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd just made the best or worst decision of his life. The next morning, he called the hospital's HR department and requested a meeting with his supervisor. Sarah caught him before his shift started, her face knowing. "You're really doing this. I'm really doing this. Good. You deserve to be happy, Ryan, and so does Maya." Sarah hugged him tightly. "But I'm going to miss you like crazy." "I'll miss you too. You've been an incredible friend. When are you planning to leave?" "I'm thinking end of March, early April. Gives me time to wrap things up here, get Emma enrolled in school for the fall semester." Sarah nodded. "That's smart. And hey, New York has great hospitals. You won't have any trouble finding work." She was right. Over the next week, Ryan applied to 5 pediatric units in Manhattan and Brooklyn. 3 called him back for phone interviews within days. By the end of the second week, he had 2 job offers. Emma adjusted to the idea of moving with surprising ease, talking about New York constantly. She made Ryan promise they could visit the Statue of Liberty, the big library with the lions, Central Park. She wanted to know if they'd live in a building with an elevator, if she could learn to ride the subway, if Aunt Maya would take her to see a Broadway show. "One thing at a time, Em," Ryan said, though her excitement was infectious. Linda was harder to convince. She came over one evening after Emma was in bed, her face creased with worry. "Are you sure about this, Ryan? It's such a big move, and Emma's so young." "I know it's big, but Linda, I can't keep living half a life. Maya's been the missing piece for so long, And now that we've finally admitted how we feel, I can't just let her go. What about Jennifer? What about her memory? Ryan took Linda's hand gently. Jennifer will always be Emma's mother, always. But she's been gone for 3 years, and I've been stuck in this holding pattern, afraid to move forward. I think Jen would want me to be happy. You said as much yourself. Linda's eyes filled with tears. I did, didn't I? And you're right. Jennifer loved you both so much. She'd want you to grab happiness wherever you could find it. She squeezed his hand. But I'm going to miss you terribly. Miss watching Emma grow up. You can visit whenever you want, and we'll come back for holidays. This isn't goodbye, Linda. It's just different. Everything's different now, she said softly. My baby's gone, and now you and Emma are leaving too. I know it's selfish, but it feels like I'm losing you both all over again. You're not losing us. Emma needs her Grammy, and I need you too. Your family, Linda. That doesn't change because of geography. They talked late into the night, making plans for visits, discussing logistics. By the time Linda left, she seemed more at peace with the decision, even if she wasn't entirely happy about it. The days blurred together. Ryan worked his shifts, researched neighborhoods, video called Maya every night. She'd started her new job and was working insane hours, trying to prove herself in a competitive environment. Some nights she looked exhausted on the screen. Other nights she was buzzing with excitement about a campaign she was working on. I wish you were here, she said one night, 3 weeks after she'd left. I know we said 2 months, but God, Ryan, it feels like forever. I know, but we're making progress. I accepted the job at Mount Sinai. Start date is April 15th. That's amazing. Oh my God, this is really happening. It's really happening. I found a realtor too. She's sending me listings for 3-bedroom apartments in Brooklyn. Thought we'd want some space. Maya's face went soft. We. I still can't get used to hearing you say we. Better get used to it. You're stuck with us now. Emma started telling everyone at school she was moving to New York. Her teacher called Ryan in for a conference, concerned about the timing and whether Emma was handling it okay. But when they talked to Emma, she was nothing but excited, already planning her goodbye party and making lists of things she wanted to see in her new city. She's remarkably resilient, the teacher said. You've done a good job with her, Mr. Cole. Ryan thought about Maya, about all the nights she'd been there to help with homework, to read bedtime stories, to just be present. I had help. The 1-month mark came and went. Ryan had given his notice at the hospital, started packing up the apartment he'd shared with Jennifer, and then lived in alone with Emma. Each box felt like closing a chapter, saying goodbye to the life he'd built here. He kept Jennifer's things that mattered, her jewelry for Emma when she was older, photo albums, the quilt her mother had made. Everything else he donated or sold. It was time to let go, to make room for the future instead of clinging to the past. Maya flew back to Seattle for a weekend in mid-March, ostensibly to collect some things she'd left in storage, but really to see them. Emma practically vibrated with excitement when they picked her up from the airport, launching herself at Maya the moment she appeared. Aunt Maya! Aunt Maya! I have so much to tell you. I want to hear everything, Maya said, but her eyes were on Ryan over Emma's head. They went to dinner at their favorite Italian place, Emma chattering nonstop about kindergarten and her friends, and all the things she was packing for New York. Watching Maya with his daughter, seeing the love and patience on her face, Ryan felt certainty settle in his chest. This was right. This was where they were all meant to be. Later, after Emma was asleep and Linda had come to stay with her, Ryan and Maya went back to his apartment. It felt strange having her there in the space that had been his and Jennifer's, but Maya seemed to understand, didn't push. They sat on the couch, Maya tucked against his side, and just breathed each other in. 1 more month, she said quietly. 1 more month. Then we're there. Are you scared? Terrified. You? Beyond terrified. What if we get there and realize we've built this up in our heads? What if the reality doesn't match the fantasy? Ryan turned to look at her, cupping her face in his hands. Maya, we've been each other's reality for 8 years. We've seen each other at our worst, our most exhausted, our most broken. There's no fantasy here. We know exactly who we are. Do we, though? We've never had to navigate the complicated parts, the fights, the compromises, the day-to-day of being a couple. So we'll learn, together. He kissed her softly. I love you. That's the only thing I'm sure of. Everything else, we'll figure out as we go. Maya melted into the kiss, her hands fisting in his shirt. When they broke apart, she was smiling. I love you too. Have I said that yet? Out loud, not in a confession on top of the Space Needle? Not in so many words. Well, I do. I love you, Ryan Cole. Have loved you for more years than I care to admit, and I can't wait for you and Emma to get to New York so we can start our life together. They spent the rest of the weekend together, the three of them, doing all their favorite Seattle things one last time. Pike Place Market, the waterfront, the park where they'd spent countless Sunday afternoons. It felt like a goodbye tour, bittersweet and necessary. When Ryan dropped Maya at the airport Sunday night, the goodbye was easier than it had been a month ago. Because this time, they knew it was temporary. This time, there was a plan, a future, a light at the end of the tunnel. 4 weeks, Maya said, kissing him one more time. I'll have the apartment ready for you guys. We can't wait. The final month was chaos. Ryan sold most of his furniture, packed up their lives into boxes the movers would take across the country. Emma had her goodbye party at school, tears and hugs and promises to stay in touch. Linda threw them a family dinner, inviting Jennifer's siblings and their families, giving everyone a chance to say goodbye. Take care of my granddaughter, Linda said, hugging Ryan tight. And take care of yourself. You deserve this happiness, sweetheart. Thank you. For everything. For accepting me into your family, for being there after Jennifer died, for supporting this decision even though it's hard. Family supports each other. That's what we do. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Now go. Build your life, be happy, and call me every week. Every week, I promise. The last night in Seattle, Ryan walked through the empty apartment with Emma sleeping in her room, the only room that still had furniture. He thought about Jennifer, about the life they'd planned here, about coming home from the hospital with newborn Emma, about the first Christmas in this space, about the morning he'd found Jennifer unconscious and his world had shattered. I hope you understand, he said quietly to the empty air. I hope wherever you are, you're okay with this, with me loving someone else, with Emma having Maya in her life this way. I think you would be. I think you'd want us to be happy. The apartment didn't answer, but Ryan felt something shift, some weight he'd been carrying lift slightly. Permission, maybe, or just acceptance. Either way, it felt like closure. The morning of their flight, Linda drove them to the airport. Emma was bouncing with excitement, clutching her backpack full of activities for the flight. Ryan felt nauseous with nerves and anticipation. This is it, Linda said at the departure area, hugging Emma tight. You be good for your daddy and Aunt Maya, okay? I will, Grammy. And you're coming to visit soon, right? As soon as you're settled, I promise. Linda hugged Ryan next, holding on longer than usual. Love you, sweetheart. Call me when you land. Love you too. Thank you for everything. Then they were through security, sitting at the gate, waiting to board. Emma pressed her face to the window, watching planes take off and land. Ryan checked his phone for the 100th time, reading Maya's last text. Can't believe you're finally coming. I'll be at JFK waiting. Love you too. See you in 6 hours. The flight felt eternal and too fast all at once. Emma slept for part of it, colored for the rest, asked a million questions about New York and their new life. Ryan tried to stay calm, but his heart was racing. This was it. They were really doing this. When the plane touched down at JFK, Emma squealed with excitement. We're here! We're really here! We're really here, Ryan echoed, gathering their carry-ons. The walk through the airport felt surreal. Every step was taking them closer to Maya, to their new life, to everything they'd been building toward for the past 2 months. Emma held Ryan's hand tightly, her eyes huge as she took in the crowds and the noise and the sheer overwhelming bigness of it all. Then they were through the doors into arrivals, and Maya was there. She looked different somehow, more polished maybe, in her work clothes with her hair styled, but her face when she saw them was pure joy. Emma dropped Ryan's hand and ran, and Maya caught her, swinging her around. You're here! You're really here! We're here! Emma wrapped her arms around Maya's neck. Aunt Maya, this place is so big. It is, isn't it? Wait until you see our neighborhood. You're going to love it. Maya set Emma down and turned to Ryan, and suddenly everything else faded away. The crowds, the noise, the strangeness of this new city. It was just the two of them, looking at each other across 3 feet of airport terminal. Hi, Ryan said, his voice rough with emotion. Hi. Maya closed the distance between them, throwing her arms around him. You came. You really came. I told you I would. I know, but part of me didn't believe it until I saw you standing here. She pulled back to look at him, her eyes shining. Welcome to New York. Ryan kissed her right there in the middle of JFK Airport, with Emma giggling beside them and travelers streaming past on all sides. It was messy and imperfect and absolutely perfect. Let's go home, Maya said, taking Emma's hand on one side and Ryan's on the other. Home. Such a simple word for such a complicated concept. But as they walked out of the airport into the crisp April air, Ryan felt it settling over him. Home wasn't Seattle or Jennifer's memory or the life he'd left behind. Home was wherever these two people were. The apartment Maya had found was in Park Slope, Brooklyn, a sunny 3-bedroom in a pre-war building with crown molding and hardwood floors. Emma ran through it shrieking with delight, claiming the smallest bedroom as her own because it had a window seat. It's perfect, Ryan said, pulling Maya close. You did good. I wanted it to feel like home for all of us. Not just my place that you moved into, but ours. The first week was an adjustment. Ryan started his new job at Mount Sinai, learning new systems and meeting new colleagues. Emma began at her new school, coming home each day with stories about her teacher and the kids in her class. Maya worked long hours but came home every night, and they'd have dinner together. The three of them, like a real family. It wasn't all smooth. There were arguments about space and schedules, about parenting decisions and household responsibilities. Maya had to learn to be more than just Emma's fun godmother. She had to navigate discipline and bedtime routines and the tedious day-to-day of raising a child. Ryan had to learn to let someone else into that space, to trust Maya with decisions he'd been making alone for 3 years. But they worked through it. They talked, compromised, figured out how to be partners instead of just friends. One night, about 3 weeks after they'd arrived, Emma was in bed and Ryan and Maya were cleaning up after dinner. Maya was washing dishes and Ryan was drying, and it struck him how domestic it all was. How normal. What? Maya asked, catching him staring. Nothing, just thinking about how this is our life now, how we actually did it. Having second thoughts? Not even a little bit. You? Maya set down the dish she was washing and turned to face him, her hands dripping soap. Ryan, I spent 8 years wishing for this and thinking it would never happen. Every single day with you and Emma feels like a gift I don't entirely deserve. You deserve it. You deserve all of it. Ryan pulled her close, not caring about the soap and water. I love you. I love our life. I love that we were brave enough to take this leap. Me too. Maya kissed him softly, though I have to say, the dishes weren't part of the romantic fantasy. Ryan laughed. Welcome to reality. It's not always glamorous, but it's ours. Later, lying in bed with Maya curled against his side, Ryan thought about how far they'd come. From childhood friends to this, partners, lovers, co-parents, building a life together in a city that still felt foreign but was slowly becoming home. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Linda. How's my girl doing? Send pictures. Ryan smiled, typing back, She's great. Loving school, loving the city. We all are. Good. I'm glad you're happy, Ryan. You all deserve it. Maya stirred beside him. Everything okay? Yeah, just Linda checking in. Ryan set his phone down and pulled Maya closer. Everything's perfect. And lying there in their Brooklyn apartment, with Emma sleeping down the hall and the sounds of the city filtering through the windows, Ryan realized it was true. They'd taken the biggest risk of their lives, and it was paying off in ways he'd never imagined. This was home. This was family. This was everything they'd been too scared to reach for, finally theirs. 2 months had felt like forever when they were apart. But now, wrapped up in each other and this new life they were building, it felt like no time at all. Like they'd always been here, always been this. Like some part of them had been waiting their whole lives for this exact moment. Ryan? Maya's voice was sleepy, content. Yeah? I'm really glad you came. Me too, baby. Me too. Outside, the city hummed with life and possibility. Inside, they had everything they needed. Each other, Emma, and the courage to keep building something beautiful out of years of silence and fear finally broken. It was more than enough. It was everything. The rhythm of their new life settled in gradually, like pieces of a puzzle finding their places. By mid-May, Emma had made 3 best friends at school and could navigate the subway route from their apartment to Maya's office with the confidence of a native New Yorker. Ryan's colleagues at Mount Sinai had stopped treating him like the new guy, and Maya's latest campaign had earned her firm a major account, solidifying her position. But beneath the surface of their picture-perfect transition, something was shifting. Ryan felt it first on a Tuesday evening when he came home early and found Maya sitting at the kitchen table, still in her work clothes, staring at her laptop with an expression he couldn't quite read. "Hey," he said, setting down his bag. "I thought you'd be home an hour ago." Maya jumped slightly, closing the laptop quickly. I just needed to finish something." "Where's Em?" "Mrs. Chen took her to the park with her grandson. They should be back soon." Maya stood, moving toward the refrigerator with studied casualness. "How was your day?" "Good. We had a kid come in with the most interesting case of—" Ryan stopped, watching her. "Maya, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Why would something be wrong?" "Because you just closed your laptop like I caught you looking at something you shouldn't be, and you won't meet my eyes." Maya's shoulders tensed. For a long moment, she stood with her back to him, gripping the refrigerator handle. Then she let out a long breath and turned around. "I got a call today from Waverly Creative in London. They want me to head up their European division." Ryan felt the floor shift beneath him. "London. It's an incredible opportunity, Ryan. Director-level position, significant salary increase, chance to build something from the ground up." Maya's words came faster, like she'd been rehearsing them. "They saw the work I did on the Chrysler campaign and reached out directly. When would you start?" "They want me there by August. But Ryan, I haven't said yes. I haven't even seriously considered it because of us, because of Emma, because we just did this whole massive life upheaval and I would never—" "But you want to," Ryan said quietly. It wasn't a question. Maya's face crumpled. "I don't know. Maybe? It's everything I've worked toward career-wise, but I just got you here. I just got us here. The timing is impossible." Ryan moved to the table and sat down heavily. 6 weeks. They'd been living together for 6 weeks, and already the universe was testing them. "Tell me about it. The position." "Ryan, please, just tell me." So she did. She talked about the scope of the role, the creative freedom, the chance to work with international brands. Her eyes lit up when she described the opportunity, and Ryan could see the hunger there, the ambition she'd always had but had somehow tempered while orbiting his life in Seattle. "You should take it," he said when she finished. Maya stared at him. "What?" "You should take it. This is what you've always wanted." "What I've always wanted is sitting right here in this kitchen. You and Emma, this life we're building. I'm not giving that up for a job, Ryan. I'm not that person." "You're not giving anything up. We'll come with you." The words hung in the air between them. Maya sank into the chair across from him, her face pale. "You can't be serious. You just moved here. You just started a new job. Emma just got settled in school. And we can do it again." "Maya, I didn't move to New York because of the city. I moved because of you. If you're in London, then that's where we need to be." "No." Maya's voice was firm. "Absolutely not. I'm not letting you uproot your entire life again after 6 weeks. That's insane. What's insane is watching you turn down your dream job because you're afraid of asking for what you want." "I'm not afraid." "Yes, you are. You've spent your whole life putting everyone else first. You stayed in Seattle for 8 years, watching me build a life with someone else, never saying anything because you didn't want to disrupt what I had. You were there every day after Jennifer died, setting aside your own grief to help me and Emma. And now you're about to turn down the opportunity of a lifetime because you think you owe us something." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I don't think I owe you. I love you. Both of you. and love means making sacrifices. It also means being honest about what you need. Maya, if you turn this down and stay here just for us, eventually you're going to resent it. Ryan reached across the table and took her hands. My real life is wherever you are. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Seattle, New York, London, Mars, it doesn't matter. You're home, Maya. You and Emma. Everything else is just geography. Emma, Maya whispered. God, what about Emma? How do we tell her we're moving again? How do we explain that we just made her leave everything she knew and now we're doing it again? The front door burst open before Ryan could answer, and Emma came running in, her face flushed from the park, Mrs. Chen following behind with an apologetic smile. Sorry we're late, their elderly neighbor said. Someone discovered the swings and didn't want to leave. That's fine, Mrs. Chen. Thank you for watching her. Emma launched into an enthusiastic recap of her adventures, oblivious to the tension between the adults. Ryan and Maya exchanged looks over her head, the conversation clearly tabled for later. That night, after Emma was in bed, they lay in the darkness, not touching, both staring at the ceiling. I'm supposed to give them an answer by Friday, Maya said quietly. What do you want to do? I want to take the job. And I hate myself for wanting it when it means disrupting everything again. Don't hate yourself for having ambition. It's one of the things I love about you. Maya rolled onto her side to face him. I'm scared, Ryan. What if this breaks us? What if we keep chasing opportunities and never settle long enough to build something stable for Emma? Then we figure it out. We've done nothing but figure things out since we were 7 years old. Why stop now? Because now there's a child involved. It's not just about us anymore. I know, which is why we need to talk to her, together, see how she feels about it. They approached Emma the next morning at breakfast, both of them nervous in a way that seemed ridiculous given they were talking to a 5-year-old. But Emma had already been through so much change, and neither of them wanted to damage her sense of security. Em, we need to talk to you about something important, Ryan started, watching his daughter stir her cereal with intense focus. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart. Nothing like that. Aunt Maya got offered a really special job, but it's in a different city. Emma's spoon stilled. Where? London. It's in England, across the ocean. How far is across the ocean? Maya leaned forward. Pretty far. It would be about a 7-hour plane ride. Emma processed this, her small face serious. Would we have to move again? We'd like to, if you're okay with it. Ryan held his breath. Would I have to leave my new friends? And Mrs. Chen? And my school? Yes, baby. You would. And we know that's hard. We know you just got settled here. Emma was quiet for a long moment, pushing her cereal around her bowl. When she finally looked up, her eyes were shining with tears. I don't want to keep moving. I like it here. I like my room, and my friends, and my teacher. Maya made a small, wounded sound. I know, sweet girl. I'm so sorry. But, Emma continued, her voice small but steady, you always said family stays together. That's what you told me when you moved to New York, that we're family and families stay together. That's right, Ryan said, his throat tight. Then if you need to go to London for your job, we should go too, because we're family. Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. But can we at least stay until summer is over? I want to have summer here first. Ryan looked at Maya, who was crying silently. She nodded. Summer here first, Ryan confirmed. Then we'll go to London together. How does that sound? Okay. Can I still have my cereal now? Just like that, the conversation was over. Emma went back to eating breakfast like they'd discussed what to have for dinner, not where to relocate their entire lives. But Ryan saw the tension in her small shoulders, heard the slight tremor in her voice. His daughter was being brave for them, and it broke his heart a little. After Emma left for school with Mrs. Chen, Maya collapsed onto the couch, her face in her hands. I can't believe we're doing this to her again. She's 5 years old and this is her 3rd city in 6 months. Ryan sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. She's resilient, and she has us, both of us, together. That's what matters. Is it though? What if she grows up resenting us for never staying put? What if all this instability damages her? Or what if she grows up knowing that sometimes you have to be brave and take risks for the people you love? That family means supporting each other's dreams, even when it's hard. Ryan tilted Maya's face up to look at him. We're going to make mistakes, Maya. That's part of parenting. But loving her, being there for her, showing her that we're a team, that's what she'll remember. Maya kissed him softly. When did you get so wise? I've had good teachers. He smiled against her lips. So you're going to call them? Accept the position? If you're sure, if you're really, truly sure this is what you want. I'm sure. Call them. Maya made the call that afternoon, her hands shaking as she accepted the position in London. When she hung up, she looked simultaneously elated and terrified. I just agreed to move to another country with my boyfriend and his daughter. Oh God, what are we doing? Building a life, taking chances, being happy. Ryan pulled her close. Together. The next few months were a whirlwind of preparation. Ryan researched international schools in London, neighborhoods suitable for families, the logistics of moving across an ocean. He gave notice at Mount Sinai, where his supervisor looked simultaneously impressed and baffled by his decision to leave after only 2 months. You know you'll have to get licensed to practice in the UK, Sarah said during one of their frequent video calls. And the healthcare system is completely different there. I know. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll take some time off when we first get there, help Emma adjust before I jump back into work. Look at you, putting family first. I'm proud of you, Ryan. Emma had good days and hard days. Sometimes she was excited about London, asking questions about the royal family and whether she'd get to see Big Ben. Other times she cried about leaving her friends, about missing New York before she'd even really gotten to know it. Maya threw herself into work, determined to finish her projects in New York on a high note before transitioning to the London office. She came home late most nights, exhausted but energized, talking about campaigns and clients and creative strategies. Ryan loved watching her like this, fully in her element, finally allowing herself to chase success without guilt. But there were hard moments too, fights about packing, about what to keep and what to sell, arguments about money and logistics and the strain of another international move. One night in late June, they had their worst fight yet. You can't just decide to sell the couch without asking me, Maya said, her voice tight with frustration. We bought that together. We bought it 3 months ago, and shipping it to London costs more than it's worth. It makes more sense to sell it here and buy new furniture there. That's not the point. The point is you made a decision about our furniture without consulting me. Our furniture? Maya, I'm the one who paid for most of this stuff. You were in New York for 2 months before we got here. The moment the words left his mouth, Ryan knew he'd made a mistake. Maya's face went white, then red. Wow. Okay. So now we're keeping score of who paid for what. That's not what I meant. No, clearly it is. Clearly, you've been keeping track of every dollar you've spent on this relationship, on this move. Good to know where we stand. Maya, please, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just stressed and tired and You know what? I need some space right now. I'm going to Sarah's place for the night. Sarah's in Seattle. I meant I'm going to get a hotel room because apparently this isn't really my home anyway, since I didn't pay for most of it. She grabbed her purse and left, the door slamming behind her. Ryan stood in the middle of their apartment that he'd just implied wasn't really hers, and felt like the world's biggest idiot. Emma appeared in her doorway, her face worried. Why is Aunt Maya mad? Because Daddy said something really stupid and hurt her feelings. Are you guys going to break up? The question hit Ryan like a punch. No, baby, no. We just had a fight. People who love each other sometimes fight, but we work it out. Promise? Promise. Now come here. He pulled Emma into a hug, holding her tight while his mind raced. He needed to fix this. Tonight. After getting Emma back to bed, Ryan texted Maya. I'm sorry, that was completely out of line. Please come home so we can talk. No response. He tried calling, voicemail. At midnight, he was about to go searching for her when he heard her key in the lock. She came in quietly, her face puffy from crying. I'm sorry, Ryan said immediately. What I said was cruel and wrong, and I'm so sorry. I know you're under a lot of stress, Maya said, her voice dull. We both are. But Ryan, I need to know, do you resent me? For this move, for disrupting your life again? What? No. Maya, no. Because if you do, if you're keeping track of sacrifices and who owes who what, we need to address that now, before we get to London and it gets even more complicated. Ryan crossed the room and took her hands. I don't resent you. I don't regret any of this. I was stressed and said something stupid, and I'm sorry. You're right. We bought that couch together. We've built this life together, and I need to do better about treating our decisions like they're ours, not just mine. Maya's eyes searched his face. This is hard, isn't it? Being a couple instead of just friends, having to navigate all these little things we never had to deal with before. It is hard, but it's worth it. You're worth it. Ryan pulled her close. I love you, and I'm committed to figuring out how to do this right, even when I mess up. I love you too, and I'm sorry for walking out. I should have stayed and talked it through. They held each other in the quiet apartment, both of them learning that love wasn't just the grand gestures and dramatic confessions. It was also this, the apologies after fights, the willingness to be wrong, the choice to stay even when it was hard. The rest of June and all of July passed in a blur of logistics and goodbyes. Emma's last day of kindergarten came with tears and promises to stay in touch. Linda flew out for a week to help pack and spend time with Emma before they left. Ryan's last shift at Mount Sinai felt surreal, leaving a job he'd barely started. Maya's going-away party at her firm was elegant and bittersweet, her colleagues toasting her success while clearly sad to see her go. Ryan watched her give a speech thanking everyone and felt a surge of pride at this woman who had worked so hard to get here. On their last night in New York, they took Emma to the top of the Empire State Building, something they'd kept meaning to do but never gotten around to. The city spread out below them in all directions, lights twinkling like stars. It's beautiful, Emma said, pressed against the glass. I'm going to miss it. Me too, sweetheart, Ryan said. But we'll come back to visit. New York will always be here. And London will be an adventure, Maya added, crouching down to Emma's level. A big adventure for all of us. Together, Emma said, taking both their hands. We're doing it together. Ryan caught Maya's eye over Emma's head, saw his own feelings reflected there. Fear and excitement, grief for what they were leaving, and hope for what they'd find. They were doing this. Really doing this. The flight to London was long and cramped. Emma slept for most of it, worn out from the emotional weight of another goodbye. Ryan and Maya sat awake, hands clasped across the armrest, watching the Atlantic slide by below them. Last chance to back out, Maya said softly. Not a chance, we're in this. All the way. All the way, she echoed. Heathrow Airport was overwhelming, bigger and busier than JFK, with accents Emma found fascinating and a left-side driving system that made Ryan's head spin. They collected their luggage and made their way to the car service Maya had arranged, Emma's eyes huge as she took in her first glimpses of London. The apartment Maya's company had found for them was in Notting Hill, a colorful neighborhood with tree-lined streets and charming townhouses. It was smaller than their Brooklyn place, but filled with character. Exposed brick, tall windows, a tiny garden out back that made Emma gasp with delight. It's like a fairy tale, she breathed, running through the rooms. Dad, Aunt Maya, we live in a fairy tale. Ryan and Maya stood in the living room, surrounded by suitcases and the exhaustion of another international move, but Emma's joy was infectious, her resilience a reminder of why they'd done this. We made it, Maya said, leaning against Ryan. We made it. The first week was chaos. Jet lag hit them hard, leaving all three of them awake at odd hours and sleeping through alarms. They had to figure out new systems, buying groceries with British money, navigating the tube, learning which side of the sidewalk to walk on. Emma started at her new school and came home each day with stories about cricket and tea time and how everyone talked funny. Ryan struggled more than he'd expected. In New York, he'd at least had his job as an anchor. Here, without work and still figuring out the licensing requirements, he felt adrift. He spent his days getting Emma settled, exploring the neighborhood, researching pediatric positions. But there was a hollowness to it, a sense of being unmoored that he couldn't shake. Maya noticed on a Thursday evening, 2 weeks after their arrival. She came home from work to find Ryan staring at his laptop, his expression bleak. "What's wrong?" "I can't work here. At least not as a nurse. The licensing process takes months, maybe over a year. And even then, I'd have to basically retrain for their system." He gestured at the screen, where visa and work permit information was displayed. "I don't know what I'm doing, Maya. I gave up everything to come here, and now I'm just floating." Maya set down her bag and came to sit beside him. "So find something else. You're not just a nurse, Ryan. You're creative. You're good with people. You're brilliant with kids. What if you did something completely different while you're here?" "Like what?" "I don't know. Teach, consult, write?" She took his hand. "You don't have to have it all figured out right now. We just got here. Give yourself time to adjust, to figure out what you want this chapter to look like." "What if I made a mistake? What if I should have stayed in New York and let you come here alone?" "Hey!" Maya cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. "No, we talked about this. We're in this together, all of us. And if you're struggling, we figure it out, together. I don't want to be the anchor holding you back." "You're not. You could never be. Ryan, you followed me across an ocean. The least I can do is support you while you figure out your next move." She kissed him softly. "We've got time. Use it." So Ryan did. He started volunteering at a children's hospital, getting his foot in the door while navigating the licensing maze. He took Emma to museums and parks, exploring London through her eyes. And slowly, the city started to feel less foreign, more like home. Maya thrived at work, her creativity and American perspective bringing fresh ideas to the London office. She came home energized most nights, full of stories about campaigns and clients. But she made sure to be home for dinner, to be present for Emma's bedtime, to carve out time for just her and Ryan. One Saturday in September, they took Emma to see Big Ben in Westminster Abbey. It was a perfect London day, slightly overcast but warm, the Thames glittering beside them. Emma was fascinated by everything, asking a million questions about the history and the buildings and why Big Ben was named after a person. "Are you happy here?" Maya asked quietly, while Emma ran ahead to look at a street performer. Ryan considered the question. Yeah, I think I am. It's different than I expected, but good different." "No regrets?" "Not a single one." "You?" "None. This feels right, doesn't it? The three of us here, building this life." "It does." Ryan pulled her close, kissing her temple. "We did it, Maya. We actually did it." Emma came running back, her face flushed with excitement. "There's a lady with puppets. Can we watch, please?" They spent the afternoon wandering London, letting Emma's wonder guide them. When they finally headed home on the tube, Emma fell asleep between them, her head on Ryan's shoulder. "I love her so much," Maya whispered, stroking Emma's hair. "Sometimes it scares me how much." "I know, me too. Ryan, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What would you think about making this official? Not just living together, but actually being a family. Legally." Ryan's heart stopped. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" "I'm asking if you'd marry me. If you'd let me adopt Emma, make everything we've been building together real on paper, not just in our hearts." Ryan stared at her across their sleeping daughter, this woman who had been his constant for so long. "Yes. God, yes." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Yeah? Yeah. Let's do it. Let's be a real family." They kissed over Emma's head, both of them crying and laughing at the same time. Around them, London rushed past, their new home, their new life, their new beginning. It had taken them 8 years to get here, to this moment on a Saturday subway with their daughter asleep between them. 8 years of silence and fear and missed opportunities. But they'd made it. Finally, they'd made it. And the best part was just beginning. Emma stirred between them as the tube pulled into their station, blinking sleepily up at Ryan and Maya with confusion about where she was. Ryan lifted her into his arms, her legs wrapping around his waist automatically, and they made their way home through the early evening streets of Notting Hill. The proposal hung in the air between them, unspoken in front of Emma, but present in every glance they exchanged. Once Emma was in bed, They sat together on the small balcony overlooking their garden, the London night surprisingly quiet around them. Maya had her legs curled under her, Ryan's arm around her shoulders, and neither of them had spoken since putting Emma down. "You're quiet," Maya said finally. "Are you having second thoughts?" "About marrying you? No, never." Ryan pulled her closer. "I'm just thinking about how to tell Emma, about the adoption, about everything changing." "Does it have to change, though? She already calls me Aunt Maya. She already sees us as a family unit. Maybe the legal stuff doesn't have to be this huge, dramatic thing." "Maybe." Ryan was quiet for a moment. "When Jennifer died, I promised myself I'd never put Emma through another loss, that I'd keep everything stable and predictable for her. And instead, I've moved her across the country twice in 6 months, introduced a new parental figure, and now we're talking about adoption. What kind of father does that make me?" Maya turned to face him fully, her expression fierce. "It makes you a father who's teaching his daughter that love is worth taking risks for, that family isn't just about biology or staying in one place forever, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose happiness, even when it's scary." She took his face in her hands. "Ryan, Emma is thriving. She's happy. She knows she's loved. That's what matters. I just want to do right by her, by both of you. You are. Every single day you are." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear one by one over London. Finally, Ryan said, "So how do we do this? The engagement, the adoption, all of it?" "I don't know. I've never proposed to anyone before." Maya laughed softly. "I didn't exactly plan this, you know. It just came out on the tube because I was looking at you with Emma and thinking about how much I love our life, and suddenly I couldn't imagine not making it official." "Do you want a ring? A proper proposal?" "I want you. I want Emma. I want this life we're building. The rest is just details." She paused. "But maybe we should tell Emma before we do anything else. Make sure she's okay with it." "She'll be okay with it. She asked me once why you couldn't just live with us forever. This is kind of what she wanted all along. Still, she should have a say." They told Emma the next morning over pancakes, both of them nervous in a way that seemed ridiculous given Emma's previous reactions to major life changes. She listened carefully as they explained that Maya wanted to marry Ryan, that she wanted to adopt Emma and be her parent legally, not just in their hearts. Emma was quiet for a long moment, her fork pushing syrup around her plate. Then she looked up at Maya with those serious eyes that were so much older than 6 years old. "If you adopt me, will I have to call you Mom?" Maya's breath caught. "Only if you want to, sweetheart. You can keep calling me Aunt Maya forever if that feels right. Nothing has to change unless you want it to." "But you'd be my mom, legally." "Yes, but Emma, you already have a mom. Jennifer will always be your mom. I'm not trying to replace her." Emma nodded slowly, processing this. "Mrs. Patterson at my old school said you can have more than one mom if you're lucky. She said some kids have a mom in heaven and a mom on earth, and that's twice the love." Ryan felt his throat tighten. Mrs. Patterson was right. "So I'd have Mom Jennifer in heaven and Mom Maya on earth?" Maya's eyes filled with tears. "If that's what you want, if you're comfortable with that." Emma seemed to think about this very seriously. Then she said, "Can I still call you Aunt Maya sometimes, when it's just us?" "Absolutely. You can call me whatever feels right." "Okay. Then yes. I want you to adopt me. I want us to be a real family." Emma took another bite of pancakes, apparently satisfied with this monumental decision. "Can we get a dog now?" Ryan and Maya both laughed, the tension breaking. "We'll talk about the dog," Ryan said. "That's what you always say when you mean no." "Smart kid," Maya murmured, wiping her eyes. The next few weeks were consumed with logistics. They met with a family law attorney who specialized in international adoptions and blended families. The process was more complicated than they'd anticipated. Maya would need to formally petition for adoption, there would be home visits and evaluations, and they'd need to navigate both UK law and the question of Jennifer's parental rights now that she was deceased. This could take 6 months to a year, the attorney explained during their second meeting, and there's no guarantee of approval, though your case is fairly straightforward given the existing relationship and Emma's age. "A year," Ryan repeated, feeling deflated. Sometimes longer. The courts want to ensure stability, especially for a child who's already experienced the loss of a biological parent. Maya squeezed Ryan's hand under the table. We'll wait as long as it takes. They decided to get married first to establish the legal foundation for the adoption. No big wedding, just something simple at the registry office with Emma as their witness. Maya's parents flew over from Portland, and Linda came from Seattle, and that was it. Their small, chosen family gathered on a Tuesday afternoon in October to watch them say their vows. Ryan had thought about this moment so many times over the years, had imagined what it would be like to marry Maya. But he'd never pictured it like this, in a plain government office in London, with his 6-year-old daughter holding the rings and his late wife's mother crying happy tears in the front row. When the registrar asked if anyone objected, Emma piped up with, "I object to not having a dog," which broke the tension and made everyone laugh. Maya looked beautiful in a simple blue dress, her hair falling loose around her shoulders, her eyes locked on Ryan's like he was the only person in the room. "I promise to love you," she said during the vows, her voice shaking slightly. "To support your dreams even when they scare me. To be the best parent I can be to Emma. To choose us every single day, no matter how hard it gets." Ryan's own vows were simpler. "I promise to stop wasting time being afraid. To trust that love is worth the risk. To build a life with you that honors where we've been and celebrates where we're going. I promise to love you, Maya Brooks, for the rest of my life." When the registrar pronounced them married, Emma cheered and threw the handful of flower petals she'd been saving, and Ryan kissed his wife for the first time as her husband, and everything felt right in a way it hadn't since Jennifer died. The celebration dinner was at a small Italian restaurant Maya loved, just the 6 of them around a table sharing wine and stories. Linda toasted to Jennifer's memory and to the family she'd be so proud to see them building. Maya's parents toasted to finally having a son-in-law after wondering if their daughter would ever settle down. Emma toasted to Mom, Maya, and Dad, and getting a dog someday, maybe please. Later that night, after everyone had gone back to their hotels and Emma was asleep, Ryan and Maya lay in bed as husband and wife for the first time. "We did it," Maya whispered. "We actually did it." "How does it feel different? Being married versus just living together?" Maya considered this. "It feels more permanent somehow, like we've made a promise to the world, not just to each other." "I like that." Ryan pulled her closer. "Mrs. Cole, I'm keeping Brooks at work, but I like hearing you say it." "Mrs. Brooks Cole? Now you're just being ridiculous." They fell asleep tangled together, and Ryan dreamed of Jennifer for the first time in months. In the dream, she was sitting in their old Seattle apartment, smiling peacefully. "You're happy," she said. It wasn't a question. "I am. Is that okay?" "Ryan, I've been gone for 4 years. Of course it's okay. You think I'd want you to be alone forever?" "I miss you." "I know. But you have Maya now. You have the life you were always meant to have." Jennifer stood, moving toward him. "Take care of our girl, and take care of yourself. Stop feeling guilty for being happy." "How did you know I felt guilty?" "Because I know you. But I'm telling you now, let it go. Love Maya, love Emma, love the life you're building. That's what I want for you." He woke with tears on his face and Maya stirring beside him. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I think I am." Ryan pulled her close. "I think I finally am." The adoption process moved slowly through the fall and into winter. There were home visits from social workers, interviews with Emma about her feelings and relationships, background checks and references. Maya threw herself into proving she could be a good parent, perhaps trying too hard at times. "You're already a good parent," Ryan told her one evening after she'd spent 2 hours researching child development theories. "You don't have to prove anything." "I do, though. To the courts, to Emma, to myself. I'm not her biological mother. I didn't carry her or birth her or raise her from infancy. What if I'm not enough?" "Maya, you've been raising her since she was 2. You were there for her first day of preschool, her first lost tooth, her first nightmare. You're not trying to be her mother. You already are." "But what if the court doesn't see it that way?" Ryan took the research papers from her hands and pulled her into his lap. "Then we appeal. We fight. We do whatever it takes. But Maya, you need to trust that this is going to work out. Emma loves you. You love her. That's the foundation everything else is built on. In December, they got their first real setback. The social worker assigned to their case flagged concerns about Emma's multiple relocations in such a short time period. She questioned whether their life was stable enough for a formal adoption, whether Emma's best interests were being served by the constant upheaval. Mrs. Cole, the social worker said during a tense meeting in their living room, I understand that you and your husband have followed career opportunities, but from Emma's perspective, she's lived in 3 different cities in less than a year. That's a significant amount of change for a child her age. Emma's adjusting well, Maya said, her voice tight. She's happy. She's doing great in school. She has friends. I'm not questioning her current state. I'm questioning the pattern. What happens when the next opportunity comes along? Will Emma be uprooted again? We're committed to staying in London, Ryan interjected. Maya's position here is long-term, and I'm in the process of getting licensed to work in the UK healthcare system. We're not planning another move. But you've said that before, haven't you? You were committed to Seattle, then to New York. Patterns matter in these evaluations, Mr. Cole. The meeting ended with the social worker making notes and promising to include her concerns in her report to the court. After she left, Maya collapsed onto the couch, her face in her hands. This is my fault. I've dragged you and Emma all over the world chasing my career, and now it's going to cost us the adoption. That's not what's happening. Isn't it? She's right, Ryan. We've been irresponsible, prioritizing my ambitions over Emma's stability. What kind of parent does that make me? The kind who's teaching Emma to go after what she wants, to not settle, to believe that women can have careers and families. Ryan sat beside her, taking her hands. Maya, listen to me. We made these decisions together, every single one of them. And yes, Emma's had a lot of change, but she's also had 2 parents who love her and each other. That counts for something. What if it's not enough? Then we prove them wrong. We show them that our family works, that Emma is thriving, that stability isn't just about staying in one place. It's about consistent love and support. They doubled down on documentation after that. Letters from Emma's teachers praising her adjustment and academic progress. References from friends and colleagues attesting to their parenting abilities. Records of family counseling sessions they'd started attending to help Emma process all the changes. They built a case brick by brick, determined to prove that their unconventional path had led to something solid and real. Emma seemed largely oblivious to the stress, focused instead on Christmas preparations and the excitement of experiencing a London winter. She made them take her ice skating at Somerset House, demanded they see every Christmas light display in the city, and wrote an elaborate letter to Father Christmas that included a dog among approximately 15 other requests. On Christmas morning, Ryan and Maya woke to Emma jumping on their bed at 6 a.m., shrieking about presents. They stumbled downstairs to find their small tree surrounded by gifts they'd carefully wrapped after Emma went to bed. Wait, Emma said suddenly, stopping mid-reach for a package. We should video call Grammy and Grandma and Grandpa first, so they can see. So they did, connecting with Linda in Seattle and Maya's parents in Portland, letting Emma show off each gift via phone camera. It was chaotic and wonderful, and Ryan felt a surge of gratitude for technology that kept them connected across oceans. The biggest surprise came last, a large box that Ryan hadn't wrapped, with Maya's handwriting on the tag. Emma tore into it eagerly, then froze. Is this, Dad, is this really? Open it and see. Inside was a stuffed golden retriever puppy, along with a collar, leash, and dog bowl. Attached was a note that read, "We can't get you a real dog while we're waiting for the adoption to go through. Too many changes at once. But this is a promise that when everything is final, we'll find you the perfect puppy. Love, Mom, Maya, and Dad." Emma clutched the stuffed dog to her chest, her eyes shining. "You called yourself Mom Maya." "I did. Is that okay?" "It's perfect." Emma launched herself at Maya, nearly knocking her over. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to name him Winston after Winston Churchill because we learned about him in school and he was very important." "Winston it is," Ryan said, his throat tight. That night, after Emma was asleep with Winston tucked under her arm, Ryan and Maya sat by their tree with the lights twinkling in the darkness. "That was a good Christmas," Maya said softly. "It was perfect." Do you think we'll get the adoption approval? I do. I have to believe that. What if we don't? What if the court decides I'm not fit to be her legal parent? Ryan pulled her into his arms. Then you'll still be her mom, Maya. Legal documents don't define what we are to each other. But Maya, I believe this is going to work out. I have to. The new year brought their answer. In late January, nearly a year after they'd started the process, the court approved Maya's petition to adopt Emma. The judge noted the unconventional circumstances, but ultimately ruled that Emma's clear bond with Maya and the family's demonstrated stability outweighed concerns about their relocations. The child is thriving in her current environment, the judge wrote in her decision. She has two parents who love her and are committed to her well-being. The court sees no reason to deny this petition. They got the news via email while Maya was at work and Ryan was picking Emma up from school. He called Maya immediately, barely coherent through his tears. We got it. Maya, we got it. You're her legal mother. Maya made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Are you serious? It's really approved? It's approved. The paperwork is final. You're Emma's mom. Oh my God. Oh my God, Ryan. We did it. They told Emma that evening over her favorite dinner of fish and chips from the place down the street. She listened carefully as they explained what the approval meant, that Maya was now legally her parent, that they were officially a family in every sense of the word. Does this mean we can get a real dog now? Was Emma's first question. Ryan and Maya exchanged glances. Yes, Maya said. Yes, this means we can get a real dog. Emma's whoop of joy probably disturbed the neighbors, but neither of them cared. They spent the evening looking at rescue dogs online, Emma narrating elaborate plans for training and walking and all the adventures they'd have with their new family member. 3 weeks later, they brought home a rambunctious golden retriever puppy that Emma immediately named Churchill, because Winston is for my stuffed dog, and Churchill is more dignified for a real dog, obviously. The puppy was chaos incarnate, chewing everything and having accidents and keeping them all awake with his crying. Remind me why we agreed to this, Maya said one night at 2 a.m., cleaning up yet another mess while Churchill wagged his tail completely unrepentant. Because our daughter asked, and we're pushovers who can't say no to her. Fair point. But watching Emma with Churchill, seeing her take responsibility for feeding and walking him, seeing the joy a simple puppy brought to their home, it was worth every sleepless night and chewed shoe. Ryan finally got his UK nursing license in March, nearly a year after they'd arrived in London. He accepted a position at Great Ormond Street Hospital, excited to be working again, but also appreciating the time he'd had to just be present with his family. His first day back, Maya sent him off with a kiss and a welcome back to the working world. You sure you can handle solo Emma and Churchill duty tonight? Please, I've got this. Go save some lives. That evening, Ryan came home to find Maya and Emma building a blanket fort in the living room while Churchill attempted to eat one of the sheets they were using as a roof. It was chaotic and messy and absolutely perfect. How was your first day? Maya asked, emerging from the fort with her hair askew. Good. Great, actually. Feels good to be back. Dad, you have to come see our fort. Churchill can fit inside and everything. Ryan crawled into the fort, letting Emma show him all the features she and Maya had built. They ate dinner inside the fort that night, Churchill curled up between Emma's feet, and Ryan thought about how far they'd come from that Tuesday afternoon in Seattle when Maya had asked him why he didn't have a girlfriend. That question had started everything, the confessions, the moves, the risks, all of it. And now here they were, a family in the truest sense, building a life together in a city that had initially felt foreign but now felt like home. In April, Linda came to visit for Emma's 7th birthday. She'd been back several times since they'd moved to London, but this visit felt different somehow, more settled. She spent a week with them, marveling at how Emma had grown, how comfortable Maya and Ryan were together, how completely they'd built a life here. I'm so proud of you, she told Ryan one evening, while Emma and Maya were giving Churchill a bath that was mostly just getting themselves wet. Of all of you, you've created something beautiful here. Thank you for supporting us, for being there for Emma, for not making this harder than it had to be. Jennifer would be so happy to see this, to see Emma thriving, to see you happy. To see Maya finally admitting what we all knew she felt. Linda smiled. I knew, even back then. The way she looked at you, the way she was always there. I knew. Did Jennifer know? I think on some level she did, and I think it gave her peace, knowing that if something happened to her, Emma would have Maya. You'd have Maya. Linda squeezed his hand. You deserve this, Ryan. Don't ever feel guilty about being happy. That night, after everyone was asleep, Ryan lay awake thinking about Jennifer, about the life they'd planned and the life he'd ended up living instead. He'd spent so long feeling guilty about moving on, about loving Maya, about building a family that didn't include Jennifer. But maybe Linda was right. Maybe Jennifer would have wanted exactly this. He pulled out his phone and opened the photo album he kept of Jennifer, pictures from their wedding, from Emma's birth, from all the moments they'd shared. He hadn't looked at them in months, too caught up in his new life to dwell on the old one. But looking at them now, he didn't feel the crushing grief he used to feel. Instead, he felt gratitude. For the time they'd had, for the daughter she'd given him, for the love they'd shared. And underneath that, he felt something else. Release. Permission to let go, to fully embrace the life he'd chosen with Maya. Thank you, he whispered to Jennifer's smiling face in a photo from their honeymoon. For Emma, for the years we had, for understanding. I'll always love you, but I'm letting go now. I'm choosing this life. I hope that's okay. The photo didn't answer, but Ryan felt lighter somehow, like a weight he'd been carrying for 4 years had finally lifted. Summer arrived with surprising warmth, and they made the most of it. Weekends in Hyde Park with Churchill running himself exhausted. Day trips to Brighton Beach where Emma collected shells and Maya got sunburned despite Ryan's insistence on sunscreen. Evenings in their garden, grilling and laughing and being a family. Maya's career continued to flourish. She was promoted to senior director, overseeing multiple European markets. Ryan worried about the stress and the hours, but she seemed to thrive on the challenge, managing to balance her ambition with her commitment to their family. I never thought I could have both, she admitted one night after a particularly successful campaign launch. Career success and a family. I always thought I'd have to choose. You shouldn't have to choose. Women shouldn't have to choose. I know, but so many do. And I'm grateful every day that you support me in this, that you don't resent my work or expect me to scale back my ambitions. Why would I? I love watching you succeed. And Emma needs to see women who go after what they want, who don't apologize for their ambition. Maya kissed him softly. Have I mentioned lately that I love you? Not in the last hour or so, feeling neglected. Well, we can't have that. In August, they took Emma back to Seattle for a visit. It was strange being back in the city where everything had started, seeing the familiar streets and places, but feeling like a visitor rather than a resident. They stayed with Linda, visited old friends, took Emma to all her old favorite places. Sarah met them for coffee, bringing her new boyfriend and regaling them with hospital gossip. She studied Ryan and Maya together, then nodded approvingly. You look happy, both of you. We are, Ryan said, Maya's hand in his. Good. It's about damn time. Sarah grinned. So when are you coming back to Seattle? We're not, Maya said. London is home now. Really? You're staying permanently? For the foreseeable future, yeah. We've built a life there. Emma's settled, we both love our jobs, we have a dog. Ryan laughed. All the signs of commitment. On their last night in Seattle, they went back to Maya's old apartment building. Someone else lived there now, but they stood outside looking up at the windows where they'd had so many important conversations. This is where it all changed, Maya said softly. Where we finally told each other the truth. Best decision I ever made. Even with all the chaos that followed, all the moves and stress and upheaval, especially because of all that. Maya, we've built something incredible. We've created a family, a life, a future. None of that would exist if we'd stayed in our safe little corners, too afraid to risk what we had. Maya leaned into him, and they stood there in the Seattle evening, remembering who they'd been and celebrating who they'd become. The flight back to London felt like coming home in a way Seattle hadn't. Emma chattered about Churchill and her friends and everything she'd missed in their week away. Ryan and Maya exchanged smiles over her head, both of them recognizing the shift. This was their home now. This was where they belonged. Autumn arrived with golden leaves and cooler temperatures. Emma started second grade with confidence. Churchill finally stopped chewing everything in sight, and Ryan and Maya celebrated their first wedding anniversary with a quiet dinner while Linda stayed with Emma via video call babysitting. "A year," Maya said, raising her wine glass. "We made it a year." "Just a year? Feels like we've been together forever." "We have been together forever. We just finally made it official." She smiled. "Do you remember what you said in your vows about not wasting time being afraid?" "I do. I think about that a lot, about how many years we wasted being scared, avoiding the truth, settling for friendship when we could have had this." Maya reached across the table for his hand. "I don't want to waste any more time, Ryan. I want to live every day like it matters, like we matter." "We do matter. This matters." Ryan brought her hand to his lips. "I love you, Maya Cole. I love the family we've built, the life we're living, the future we're creating, all of it. I love you too, so much it still surprises me sometimes." They went home that night to relieve Linda via video and found Emma had stayed up way past bedtime because Grammy had let her just one more story about 6 times. She was crashed on the couch with Churchill, both of them snoring softly. Ryan carried Emma to bed while Maya let Churchill out into the garden. When he came back downstairs, he found his wife standing at the kitchen window, looking out at the London night with a peaceful expression. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything. How we got here, where we're going, how lucky I am." Maya turned to him, her eyes bright. "Ryan, I know life isn't always going to be this perfect. We'll fight, things will get hard, there will be challenges we can't predict. But right now, in this moment, everything feels right." "It does, doesn't it?" They stood together in their London kitchen, Churchill padding back inside to flop at their feet, Emma sleeping safely upstairs. Outside, the city hummed with life and possibility. Inside, they had everything they needed. Ryan thought about the question that had started it all. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Such a simple question, but it had unraveled years of silence and fear, forcing them both to confront the truth they'd been avoiding. The answer, it turned out, had been standing right in front of him the whole time. Maya Brooks, his best friend, his constant, the woman who'd loved him through everything and had been brave enough to finally say it out loud. They'd taken the long way to get here. Through marriage to someone else, through grief and single parenthood, through 3 cities and countless fears. But they'd made it. They'd built a family out of honesty and risk and the courage to reach for something more. Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes with Churchill trailing behind her. "I had a bad dream." "Come here, sweetheart," Maya said, opening her arms. Emma climbed into Maya's lap, still small enough to fit comfortably. Ryan wrapped his arms around both of them, and Churchill pressed against their legs, and they stood there in their kitchen like that, a family in every sense that mattered. "Better?" Ryan asked. "Better," Emma confirmed, already drifting back to sleep against Maya's shoulder. They carried her back to bed together, tucked her in with Winston the stuffed dog, and Churchill curling up at the foot of her bed like a furry guardian. In the doorway, Ryan and Maya stood watching their daughter sleep, both of them overwhelmed with gratitude for the life they'd built. "We did good," Maya whispered. "We did great," Ryan corrected. Back in their own room, they fell into bed exhausted but content. Maya curled against Ryan's side, her head on his chest, their legs tangled together. "Ryan? Thank you for being brave enough to tell me the truth that day on the Space Needle, for following me to New York, to London, for building this life with me. Thank you for asking that question, for pushing when I wanted to hide, for loving Emma, for being patient with me, for not giving up on us even when it seemed impossible. Never. I could never give up on us." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, Churchill's snoring drifting down the hall, London settling into night around them. And Ryan's last thought before sleep claimed him was how grateful he was for Tuesday afternoons and impossible questions and the courage to finally tell the truth. Because the truth had set them free. The truth had given them this, a family, a home, a love worth every risk they'd taken to find it. And that was worth everything.